Welcome back, dear viewers. You're still watching Nile Cruise on Nile TV, and in this very special segment, we have a very special topic that we're going to be discussing. Electronic commerce is the buying and selling of goods and services, or the transmitting of funds or data over an electronic network. It started with the internet, of course. The business transactions take place either as business to business, B2B, business to consumer, B2C, consumer to consumer, or consumer to business. And of course, we will talk and discuss and nail many points in this very special segment. And of course, we have with us a very special guest, which is Mr. Osama Harfoosh. And he is an e-commerce expert to tell us more about what we're going to be discussing about e-commerce, dear viewers, in this very special segment. Muhammad.
Yes, Rana, thank you very
Very
much,
good day, sir.
Hi, good
Mr.
day.
Harfoosh, for joining us. And Rana, we have some figures here that we will want. I'm sure that Mr. Harfoosh has an update for. I mean, in the last decade, the widespread use of e-commerce platforms has contributed to growth in online retail. The numbers are really big. So we got from 5.1% of total sales in 2007 to 16% in 2019. And I'm sure that by 2021, especially in the coronavirus pandemic period, that number has really shot up very big. But of course, we'll get the confirmation from our guest.
Actually,
Mr.
this is what
Harfoosh.
happened in the COVID era and the 2020. It's jumped not that much, but it was growing in. It's going up and up even in this year. It was getting to 21%. But the things that is changed dramatically was the digital payment for the e-commerce and the contribution of the digital link cards and everything else. It was 75% cash, and now it's a 55% cash and everything distributed on the cards and e-wallets and everything on the digital side.
That's almost double. I mean,
Yes,
double
yes.
for the online.
And this is give you the insight. It didn't get big on the from 16 to 21 in 2020, but
That's the
actually
corona.
yes, but actually what happened that the digital payments jumped around 50% in the COVID era.
Mr. Osama, before we get more into depth, could you please tell us how does e-commerce work, and is e-commerce active in Egypt?
Okay.
And tell us more about the definition of e-commerce.
E-commerce is anything that is sold or service or product on the digital platforms. And it's like the traditional businesses, like selling appliances, selling services, selling everything, but from a digital platform. This is the difference between the e-commerce and the traditional business or the traditional commerce that we see in the streets.
All right. Well, I can personally testify to the numbers for e-commerce rising, because even my kids, for instance, and some of them are very, very young, but they started during the coronavirus pandemic. They personally used e-commerce. So I'm sure but the question is, once we get over COVID-19, God willing, and the whole world wants this, do you think we're still okay? It's a trend now. That's it. So e-commerce is on for a big rise, whatever happens, or once we get over the pandemic, things will slow down?
I don't think that it's going to be slowed down, because it was getting up anyways. But actually what happened in the pandemic is that things was pushed a lot because of the social distancing and everything related to it. So I think it was only pushed. But
Okay.
if you
It's
you
a
have
trend.
seen,
It's
yes,
a
yes,
trend.
if you have seen
The younger generations, they like. I mean,
everything
it's part of, yeah.
was digitalized
Yeah.
and converted and transferred to the digital era.
Exactly.
Anyways.
That's what I wanted to pinpoint on, that we are moving actually to the digital world, and everything is digitalized, like you're saying. So we're starting to move on to another era, which is very different. So this increases the idea of using the digital way.
Yes, yes. And what happened that everything on our life right now, it's if you are ordering food right now, you have multiple apps for ordering food.
Exactly.
If you are if you want to use a transportation, If you want to use the transportation, the
Right.
transportation is now digitalized, and they call it transportation as a service. It's platforms for transportation. Everything is digitalizing at this era.
Um, so, can you talk to us about the challenges that e-commerce faces in Egypt specifically? I mean, um, I'm sure there are challenges, but what are the most important challenges in your view, and how can we overcome them?
I think the most difficult challenge right now is the consumer behavior that is changing, and you are taking the mass. Before the COVID 2020 and everything happened in the COVID era and the pandemic influence, it was hard to convert a traditional consumer to a digital consumer. Right now, the COVID is pushing this a lot, but actually, what is really happening right now that we are focusing on a 2 to 3 million, more than 3 million, maximum of 7 million users or citizens here in Egypt or users in Egypt. This is the most out of 110. So it's really hard to convert all the segments that is really using the traditional business into the digital. However, we have all the infrastructure is ready right now. Everything is helping the ecosystem for improving these numbers and helping people to understand. We have organization that is protecting users and clients from going into fraud cases with the e-commerces and everything related to it. So it's the consumer behavior. We want more awareness.
It's good to
We
know that
want to go more into the Upper Egypt and go into the governments more. It's more Cairo and Alex right now, but actually we want to have all Egypt in the ecosystem.
It's good to know, of course, that the infrastructure is there. So you're saying there's no problem as far as the
Yes,
infrastructure
yes,
is concerned. Yeah.
it was an issue before 2020, but it was improved dramatically in 2020.
Great.
Mr. Osama, you have
I want to give you an example.
Yes,
And
please.
when
please,
we
please.
sorry for the interruption,
No problem.
but actually I will give you one example, and one example that everyone is seeing right now. If we talk about the transportation, and we are working in the transportation platform and industry, and we deliver a lot of things around Cairo and Alex. There is a decrease in the delivery time and the transportation time due to the construction and the infrastructure that has been improved during the last couple of years.
True.
And this is the dramatic change has been pushing all the industries and pushing all the things around this industries, like the food retailers, like the drivers, like the transportation employees and everything around us is pushing a lot, and the time is getting decreased, and the cost is getting decreased, and everything is getting increased. The revenues, the profits, more people getting into the market, more retailers, more application, and more everything.
Yes, I was going to ask you, sir, about, of course, the young job opportunities. You have long years of experience between operations, project management, and IT, as you worked in different business fields, sir. Retail, IT services, publishing, management, consulting, appliances, and marketing. The opportunities of young job applicants, what can you tell us about?
I will give you a one insight. 2 months ago, two VCs here in Egypt got $200 million as investment to
To
distribute
what?
it. $200 million.
To
VCs as venture capital.
venture capital.
Yes, the venture capitals that is responsible for distributing investments to SMEs, small, medium-sized companies or startups and everything. So this is only two companies.
$200 million?
$200 million for two VCs here in Egypt. And this is give you an insight how the world is seeing Egypt as a potential market for everything, especially the turnover for the digital, the population and everything around it, the governments that is helping a lot in this area to push the SMEs and the small businesses and the macroeconomics. So this is two companies, $200 million, and this is only an insight.
Okay, so is this related to the coronavirus pandemic and, of course, the use of Zoom meetings and, of course, the use of online all the time? Is it related to this? Did this help in the introduction of or in helping in gaining such
It helped in
profit?
reducing the cost of initiating businesses, because when we use technology and we use the infrastructure overall, we reduce the cost of the, the rents, the buildings, everything related to the logistics of building a company. So it helps a lot. It improved a lot. So this is maybe one of the reasons.
Yeah, so you've given us really good examples and really a room for inspiration. And as you mentioned, the numbers you're mentioning are an indication of, the big market that Egypt has and the chance that we have here. Uh, um, my question is regarding the youth. Um, I, it's easy to detect that youth are aware of the importance of the digital economy, if we can say. But I want your perspective. I mean, what's your advice to youth on how to uh, better exploit the chances given to them by the government and by the private sector in this big market of ours?
One of the things that I can see and I can aware of, that youth is not focusing on the government opportunities that is really raised, and we want to raise the awareness around it. Like the Ministry of Youth and Ministry of Education and Ministry of Investment, they are all giving courses and crash courses to give people a chance to help the youth to start businesses or get aware of the businesses that is really needed in the market. So we have a lot of chances. It's a free courses, it's a free diplomas, and a lot of things that is given by the three ministers. And it's not, most of the youth is not all aware of this. And I think this is the media role and even the university's role to give them the chances. We are contributing in events in universities right now that is giving their students the chance to build their startups and to have internship in a multiple sectors and a multiple organizations, so they can have the experience to start from their universities, to start their aware of the market and aware around the things that they want to do after the university.
Okay, so your job to study companies' operations and find how to improve their performance using the most convenient IT solutions. What is your advice to entrepreneurs, sir?
Okay, the advice for the entrepreneurs is you have to start, and that's it. If you have an idea, you have to find the things that you want to start with, and you have to start.
Is it facilitated?
Yes, yes. Yeah, we have all the things that is pushing us to start right now. We have a government support. We have an ecosystem, is very, very healthy ecosystem that is helping everyone. We have events every day to help people to understand how to start. So what they need to do is to start.
Yeah, wonderful. So I want um, to ask you this, Mr. Harfoosh, if you allow me, because sometimes it's not easy for everyone to understand the concept of the digital economy. So can you explain to the viewers in the simplest form, please, what is the digital economy?
Okay, the digital economy is around the businesses that is contributing into the economy directly, like you have a store in the street and you have online store on the internet. So the difference is your existence, and we are now call it's omni-channel. It's the concept of omni-channel. It's online and offline businesses. So the traditional businesses right now is moving from the traditional stores on the streets to have more contribution on the digital and online platforms. And how this happen is by creating websites, applications, and everything related to it.
Sir, does e-commerce open up new opportunities for more small businesses to be launched here in the country?
For sure, for sure. If you
In which way?
uh, uh, allow me to tell you that most of the businesses right now is home businesses. Most of the contribution is coming out of the macro and micro businesses is the macro businesses. So it's right now from the small businesses, and the small contribution that they are doing right now is the technology is only an enabler at this point. So what is really happening that the digital platforms with a very minimal cost, and even sometimes it's a free and supported by organizations or something like that, like the women empowerment organizations and also the youth empowerment organizations. It's giving them the chance to build without having the launch cost. So
Sir, this is not only in Egypt, of course, but abroad as well, right?
yes, for sure. Sure.
Is it here in Egypt on a wider scale or abroad on a wider scale?
On abroad for sure. It's
Or
Egypt.
is
We
it
are getting.
parallel?
I think it's abroad more. But actually, what is happening in Egypt right now is that we are getting on the track, and everything is getting increased. Like we said, it's getting right now. It's a 21% of the all retail in Egypt. It's a 21% for the
That's a good
e-commerce.
number.
So it's a huge number right now.
And of course, as you mentioned, there is a lot of room for expansion.
Yes.
As well. So
We just started.
it's beautiful to hear. We've just started, and just start, two of the best words we've heard from you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Osama Harfoosh,
Thank you.
e-commerce expert.
Thank
It's
you.
been useful, informative, and inspirational, really.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Osama Harfoosh, Mr. Osama Harfoosh, e-commerce expert. We thank you so much for your,
Thank you.
of course, informative knowledge. Thank you so much for being with us in today's episode of Nile Cruise. It was our pleasure. Thank you so much, dear.
Thank you.
Dear viewers, you're still watching Nile Cruise on Nile TV. We still have more segments for you. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Me and Mohammed Abdurrahim.